What's up, everybody? It has been a long week. So I've been working on this one. This is my latest piece. Oh, by the way, if you like my shit, hit like, subscribe, comment some bullshit on there. Helps me out. Check out my website, EzekielSchmidt.com or EzekielSchmidtArt.com. Mercury is still the same discount thing that people have been using to get 15% off of prints. But other than that, back to what we're doing. So this is the new one I'm working on. The theme I'm going to be working on probably for the next few paintings is I want to do some of my favorite musicians, some musicians that I think have had a very strong impact on my spirituality as well as my love for different styles of music. Like the last one was Jim Morrison, 60s, rock, alchemy. So that's why he has the Ouroboros as his kind of halo. Go to my Instagram, Ezekiel Schmidt Art, and you'll be able to see the pictures of that. It's a pretty good portrait. But this is the new one that I've been working on since last week. And I'm still working on it. I've been working on hours today. It's been a long journey. But this is from like a photograph from the Salval tour. The photograph is okay, but it's not that great, so it's a little hard to do some of the details. But that's what I've been working on currently. I've also been still trying to dig my way through Hegel's phenomenology of spirit, which is just, boy. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only person that thinks Hegel is a bunch of bullshit. Even I recently found a thing of Bertrand Russell talking about how he thought Hegel was cool and he went through his Hegelian phase for a long time, and then he realized his Then he realized his problems with it, and eventually realized that Hegel was kind of full of bullshit. Now, whether Hegel is full of bullshit or not, it's not up to me or anyone else, but I think his stuff is pretty pretentious. It's a bunch of flowery language to distract you from the fact that he's not saying much. I do love the Hegelian dialectic. I think that is a very interesting method for trying to approach truth or finding statements that are true. I don't believe there is a truth. He brings that up a lot. He talks about the truth of something. Truth is a function of language. It is whether the statement or formulation of words and symbols that we use reflects reality and the concepts that it puts in our minds. So it's like saying, the sky is blue. That is a true statement. But it's also false, because the sky isn't actually blue. It appears blue. So a more accurate statement, a more true statement, would be the sky appears blue because of certain phenomena in the atmosphere that gives it a blue hue to our eyes. That statement is more true than the other true statement that the sky is blue. Even though in reality, there's probably way more to, a scientist could find a better statement, a better use of language that would be true other than the ones that I've given of why the sky appears blue. This is just a quick example of showing how a thing can be true and false at the same time, and that truth is a function of language. It is not a object that can be found. You can't find the truth, because it's like trying to look for the truth is like trying to find out, and same thing with the meaning of life. It's like trying to find out what is the color of elephants' wings. They don't have wings. It's a nonsensical statement to seek truth. You can seek truth in people's statements, in books. You can seek true reflections of reality, true but the truth is not an object. But anyways, moving on from that. I really like Tool because, especially, their lyrics are very powerful, but the rhythms, they really resonate in my core. I don't know, I have a deep respect for Danny Carey, his ability to isolate different rhythms with different limbs and keep those polyrhythms going, as well as add in frills and, you know, all the little bells and whistles that he does. It's just truly astounding. And it really helps me focus when I need to do something. Especially active work. It really helps when I have those different types of rhythms going. But I love their lyrics and how it's veiled to a point. Like, there's some things that are very explicit, like this song 46 and 2, where my shadow, you know, he's obviously talking about the Jungian shadow. And same thing within Sober. There's a shadow just behind me, shrouding every step I take. But every single sentence in their songs can be reworked to have different interpretations. And that is something that I would like to work into my own art as well. I would like to find a way to convey one meaning that's obvious, as well as other interpretations a person can come up with in their own. Like, but for these ones, these are just very explicit, very portrait art. Whereas I want to also have on the side, which you can see in some of my other works, is very heavily symbolic, to where you can pick out different parts of meaning. You can associate it with different things, and you can find stuff in my art that even I didn't put in. So that is my goal in the near future. Yeah, Tool is just so influential. Their use of Platonic Platonic ideas, as well as merging in some little bits of esotericism, some little bits of magic. It's very fun to know that Danny Carey is a Thelemite. Very, very interesting. And that he uses his sticks, or his drumsticks, yeah, that's what they're called, right? In different ways to, like, do the whole pentagram movements, and uses it pretty much like wands. I think that's a very cool concept. Very, very awesome. But yeah, I think Tool has been a very influential band for me to listen to, because not only did it interest me more into digging into the more esoteric spiritual practices and other things, different religions, different ideas, different philosophies, they also influenced me to see it in art. Because if you look at lots of art, especially throughout history, until recently, really, art has never been for art's sake. That's a new concept. Throughout history, it's been symbolism, it's been religion, it's been spiritual ideas, it's language itself, because people couldn't read for the majority of history. Only a few elite could actually read the symbols, and that's why you have priests interpreting stuff. That's why you have giant cathedrals filled with huge paintings of scenes from the Bible, because people couldn't read, and they couldn't understand Latin. So when you have, like, the, at least in Christianity, when you have the priest reading from the Bible, reading it in Latin, all that bullshit, people didn't know what he was saying. He could be saying fucking anything. So that was also another reason why priests had such a power over the people, because they had knowledge. They had the ability to learn. Whereas Joe Average, just working out in the fields, didn't need to learn how to read. He just needed to learn how to plant this, you do this thing, you do that, you get food, you pay the landlord. Which is essentially what we have now with our, I don't know, neo-feudalism? Like, even I rent out an apartment, and I work for someone else, and I pay my landlord a shit ton of money for no real reason. I don't own my land, and I don't have at my job, I don't have a real, it's not a vocation, it's just something you do just to pay the landlord, just to buy groceries, which is, at least back in feudal times, you grew food for your, well, even then, you worked on the land of the lord of the castle, and all your shit pretty much belonged to him. So yeah, I guess we kind of haven't really moved on too much further, except for the people that either were born with money, can buy land, or people that were born with land, or people that have found a way to monetize whatever skill they have. But even then, you're still basically a slave to buy land. Even then, you still have to pay it off. You have mortgages, and all that bullshit. Nothing has changed in 6,000 years, really. We're still in the same pyramid, But that's how it always is and always will be. I understand that people would love to have a utopia, but utopia is a fantasy. So the most you can do is break outside the system and do everything yourself. But even then, you're a slave to trying to survive. Anyways, back to the original point, talking about Tool. And also, the more I learn about different spiritualities and all these different philosophies, the more I can read into their lyrics, the more I get out of their lyrics, which I think is very fascinating, that they have found a way to weave different concepts, different philosophies into their music, and it's almost hidden, but it's in plain sight. You can hear it, but you can't unless you already have the knowledge. So I think it's a very, very interesting thing the band has done. I love the way everything is woven together through the guitar work, the basses all interplay with the drums, the vocals counterbalancing the rhythms, the melodies. Such a great band. And also, I love the pageantry that Maynard himself brings to lots of the shows. The different outfits, the different ways of performing. His other band, Pussifer in a Perfect Circle, brilliant. Just love his shit. But if you guys have any suggestions for other bands to look into, or other portraits that could be done, put them in the comments so that way I know. Because when this is finished, I don't have too many other ideas so far. I will eventually be getting back into my more symbolic work, like these ones. But for now, I want to focus on developing skill. The best way to do that is to work from portraits, I think. Because when you can get something that looks photographic, or you can work on things to where they get photographic, it improves how you see. Because art is not about just slapping on what you think is there, but seeing what is actually there. Because many times we just go off our schemas of what a nose should look like, and we draw and paint the same nose over and over again. But no, people have different noses, they have different body types, different facial structures. That's why I think people that are quote-unquote ugly, as according to the standards of beauty laid down by the fashion industry and all this other bullshit, I think they are more interesting to draw and to paint. Because they're different. They have something that's unique about them. They're not the same formula of eyes 2/3 into the head, or you have the circle, eyes directly in the middle, you put on an extra third, and then, just all that other normal proportional bullshit. They have different features that are worth looking at. They have things about them that are unique. And it shows another side of our society, that we only like unique if it's in very small amounts, and it just barely goes off the ideal. We don't like the truly unique. We don't like the unknown. We don't like the different. And that's why, as much as art can be beautiful, I think horrific art has a tremendous place. And truly ugly art that subverts what we think of as beautiful, that has an important part to play in the human expression of creation. Because anyone can make something that's pretty as long as you follow the formulas. It's hard to make something that's truly ugly, something that breaks every rule of expectation and just disgusts you. And that's why I really appreciate, like, Goya. His stuff is very, very cool. Same thing with Caravaggio. Freaking amazing detail. But gross, in a way. Like, Caravaggio's David holding Goliath's head, which, if I remember correctly, it was a self-portrait of him being Goliath's head. Just you can see the life has gone out of his eyes. He's dead, and he's just like being held by his hair by David. And it's just done with such intense detail. It's brilliant. Book recommends for this week: Philip K. Dick's Exegesis. I might have mentioned it last time. Really good book, really interesting, fascinating listening to his mind. I want to get into his novels, but first I have to finish this book because it's already 50 hours, and I also still have to finish Das Kapital and Wealth of Nations and all this other bullshit that's so much reading. I would also encourage you guys to check out Robert Anton Wilson in the Church of the Subgenius. If you have an eye for parody and satire, I think that you will enjoy those. Especially, also check out Discordianism and the Principia Discordia. It's a very interesting phenomenon that started in the, I believe, late 50s, where they worship Eris, the goddess of strife, who threw in the golden apple into the party. That started off a whole Trojan War that said Callisti, which means to the prettiest, roughly translated. So there's some good book recommends. Some of his novels are very James Joycean. He really enjoyed James Joyce. So some of it seems like utter nonsense. If you read into it for a minute, it's still nonsense. If you read into it for a little bit more, he says something. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to read. Really fucking interesting is the only word I can really put for it. So I'd recommend some of his works, as well as some of his lectures are very interesting. But I think that's all for this week. I would encourage you to read philosophy, but also study logic. Don't base everything in your life off logic, because life is irrational in itself. But it helps us see through the bullshit of a lot of politicians, and a lot of speakers, and a lot of people that are merely parroting what they hear other people say or have read somewhere. Like, I like reading, but I don't base what I think off of what I read. I only use certain methods, but I'm self-aware of that. Nothing is ever true. It is only approximation, it's an abstraction. But study philosophy, study logic, and look up Jean Baudrillard's Consumerism. You can find it on YouTube as an audiobook, or you can find like a PDF of it somewhere. Just fucking read it. You'll thank me. But peace, y'all. I'm gonna head on out. I hope you all have a great day. Check out my website, EzekielSchmidtArt.com. Check out my Instagram, Ezekiel Schmidt Art. All my shit is just called Ezekiel Schmidt Art. So, if you like what I say, if you like what I do, go have at it. I hope to see you soon.